Hello and welcome to another evening of getting our 2026 on track for the entire year and ending it with a happy bang instead of a oh. Tonight we're going to talk about synchronicity. Those moments that feel meaningful, timely, oddly precise, and how to recognize them without giving your power away. Because synchronicity isn't about signs screaming at you from the universe. It's about patterns that meet you where your attention already is. It isn't about obsessing over symbols. It's about learning to notice what's aligning with you and how to respond intentionally. Synchronicity is an inner experience and an outer event, but they line up in a very meaningful way without forcing interpretation. It's not random, but it's also not guaranteed to be cosmic instruction on A, B, and C steps. A key distinction about synchronicity is really that it invites reflection, not immediate obedience. Free will is very much a thing. If something demands fear or urgency or rigid belief, solid chance it's not really guidance. But real quick on discernment, because this does matter. Not everything that repeats is a message. Not every symbol is universal. Look at the yin yang. That actually has a few different meanings in itself, and so does the swastika. It's not just a symbol for Nazis. It was originally a good fortune symbol in Buddhism. And another example where not every coincidence needs a label. Time-based repetitions or numbers are very often misused, especially when we forget that, to a degree, time is a human construct. Synchronicity works best when it expands your awareness, not when it boxes you in fear or superstition or fixed meanings that are probably a lot newer than you realize. Your intuition doesn't need permission for a system to be valid. If your intuition is screaming at you, there's probably a reason. Just make sure it's your intuition and not your gut fear. So let's talk about a couple real-world examples of when synchronicity is more than likely trying to give you a sign. Our first example is more along the lines of themes and not symbols. For example, you keep encountering the same topic. Conversations or ads about rest that just seem to keep on popping up everywhere. Or seeing books about boundaries when you're trying to find something on your audiobook or e-reader apps. Maybe even keep on running into people talking about burnout. You can have a lot of different sources all saying the same message. I myself actually run into that a lot when I'm out and about and I see a freaky, scary amount of people talking literally just last week about how tired they all were. And these are people that would, except by one crazy amount of chance, would never cross paths with each other to all gang up and say, hey, let's talk about desperately being tired with this specific person. That was my sign that, yes, I'm actually legitimately tired and not just not getting enough caffeine in my system. But when things like that happen, this is synchronistic because it's contextual, relevant to your current state, and invites reflection, not panic. Because when I was hearing everyone talking about needing to just rest because they were so tired, that invited me to go, okay, am I actually giving myself the rest I need instead of constantly on the go, instead of constantly finding as much caffeine source as I can to keep on going? It was all just a sign letting me know, hey, I need to actually stop and rest and give myself a real break. More than just a quick sandwich and going over my notes. But how you can leverage that and know for sure that this is a sign that you need to think about is ask yourself, what am I being asked to consider? Not change instantly, but think about. When things like that happen, they keep on popping up, take a second to think on it. Ask yourself, is this a thing that I should be looking a little deeper in? Or is it just, okay, so 2 or 3 people said something about being tired. We've all probably had a long work week. Remember to put things in the right context before already thinking that it's a sign. Our next example is timely interruptions. You're about to make a decision and something stops you. This could be a random delay in being able to leave for work, or a random delay while you're at the grocery store. You suddenly realize as you're on the way to the checkout that you nearly forgot something, or a plan that at the last minute gets canceled, or just a random unexpected pause in your day. Not as a punishment, but as a redirection. Synchronicity here isn't the interruption itself, it's what becomes visible because of that interruption. Let's say that you are trying your damnedest to get out the door for work, and you are pretty much ready to go. You've got your work bag, you've got your keys, you got your phone, you got your comfort device, whatever that may be, to survive the commute. But suddenly, for whatever reason, your cat decides to trip you. Thankfully, this has never happened to me. Instead, I get other delays. But for the regular Joe Schmo, let's say that your cat or dog decides right then is the moment to trip you. Okay? It's not because they're trying to punish you or anything else. That is a delay asking you to stop and think for a second, because your body knows that there is something that you're missing, and your cat or dog is probably more aware of what you're missing than you are. And more than likely, what you're about to be forgetting might be your cup of coffee. It might be that you realize that you're actually 20 minutes ahead and didn't even realize. They're all just things to make you stop and pay attention and ask yourself, what am I about to miss? What detail is escaping my notice right now? And how to work best with that is, like I said, just do that pause. Don't rush to fix the delay. Just ask yourself, why did I get tripped? Why did that plan suddenly get canceled when there's no obvious reason for it to be suddenly poof? Pause and ask those questions. Ask yourself, what detail is your intuition trying to bring to your attention that you are nearly missing, because that plan getting canceled might be because you probably realized that you double booked and you just got lucky. Pauses happen for a reason. Pay attention to them. Our final example on how synchronicity actually works a little too well on occasion is a mirrored inner state. Let's say that you're thinking crazy deep about something. You are lost in these thoughts. And then suddenly, someone out of nowhere, and keep in mind, you're saying all this stuff in your head, okay? No words are coming out of your mouth. But suddenly, some jackernip out of nowhere articulates in an all too uncanny way what you were thinking about that you couldn't say. Not a prediction, not a mind reading, a reflection of the things that you were just thinking about. This is often how intuition confirms alignment, through resonance, not instruction. Because to a degree, we humans do have a bit of a hive mind. We do pick up on each other's thoughts without realizing it, and when that person is popping out of nowhere, speaking everything in a perfect way that you just couldn't, is that sign of you're on the right track, or that's something that you need to pay attention to. Notice what felt validating, not what felt commanding. If you were thinking about all the different ways that you are trying to tell yourself that you are doing your absolute best, and then suddenly someone says, you know, A, B, and C are just the most beautiful things about people, and suddenly you realize, I do A, B, and C. I'm not that bad. You'll finally realize that beating yourself up all this time was for nothing, and hopefully you'll get yourself a nice treat afterward. But remember, it's stuff that's going to confirm what you were already thinking, not command you to think in a different way or command you to do a certain task. Just something that reaffirms what was already running around in your brain. Now, let's say that you are on the go and you are worried that you're not sure if it's synchronicity or you trying to force a meaning into something that just isn't there, because we're all guilty of it at one point or another. Even those of us that have been doing this stuff for years occasionally get tripped up and go, is that a sign? Is the universe trying to tell me something? It does happen to all of us at least once, which is why follow a certain set of steps, and 9 times out of 10, you'll be confident to be able to say, yes, synchronicity, or yes, that's just me trying my best to find something good. The first thing to do is try to notice and try not to attach a meaning immediately, okay? Just because you see something, don't immediately go, it must mean this. Just notice it and kind of observe it for a second or 3. Ask yourself, before attaching a meaning, what does it reflect, not what it predicts? What is it trying to tell you instead of trying to lead you into, okay? Look at it more like looking at a mirror versus looking at a map. And kind of do yourself a quick body scan and ask yourself, how's your body reacting? Is it suddenly lighting up and going, yes, that's it? And why is it going, yes, that's it? Or is it feeling a little tense, a little worried? If so, why? Ask yourself these questions. If you're feeling calm, more than likely it is actual alignment. If you're feeling a little jittery, investigate, but don't just jump on and obey whatever command you think you're getting from it. And after you do that body scan and kind of identify your feels and where they're coming from, respond gently. If you're able to, do a quick journal about it. Or that pause that I mentioned earlier. Stop and observe it for a second. Make sure that that's actually what you're seeing instead of what you think you're seeing. And then make one small choice in a certain direction with confidence. That one little step of knowing that it is most definitely synchronicity and not you forcing a meaning will let you know in that final step which way you're actually going. So now that I've given you an example of a random day where synchronicity popped up a little bit, I want you to take a couple of minutes and reflect on your last week. What might have stood out to you that seemed a little too nicely patterned out? What felt just a little too well timed? For example, did it seem like even though your coffee pot usually takes a little bit longer than a regular coffee pot would, and you're sometimes scrambling to get your cream and sugar in before you run out the door? Or did everything seem to fall just a little too well that time? Or a green light that happened to show up right when you needed it because you were nearly late to something? Did you get a message, whether it be a download message or an email or even just a random conversation with somebody that felt more supportive rather than urgent? Now, once you have one or maybe even several situations in your head, take a second to either journal. I definitely encourage journaling because that helps you kind of keep track of how well you're progressing and boosting your intuition. You are more than welcome to just think about one sentence all the way through. This situation may be inviting me to consider, and fill in the rest. What did that situation mean to you? What did that pause seem to convey to you? Give it a bit of a think and make sure that you really kind of go, that was a little random and odd and felt a little too coincidental. But now that I think about it, yeah. Just remember, no action is required yet. Just awareness is always enough as a first step. And awareness until you're ready for a step, always valid. Something to remember is synchronicity does not replace intuition. It supports intuition. And real guidance never traps you in fear or superstition or rigid rules. It expands choice. It deepens your awareness, and it encourages growth. Trust patterns that empower you. Question systems that limit you. And remember, meaning is something that you co-create. It's not something that is assigned by anyone or anything. If this resonated with you at all, save it for reflection for later, and definitely feel free to return to it when things feel a little too oddly aligned. And remember, you don't need to chase signs. You only need to notice when life meets you halfway. But until next time, thank you for being here. Highly appreciate you. And don't forget to subscribe for daily reads and even more of videos just like these. Have a fabulous night.